Believe it or not, every word I'm about to tell you is true. Sometimes I can't believe I survived it, but that's why I'm sharing this story. A year ago, if someone told me my husband would try to get rid of me for money, I'd have laughed. Now I'm telling you. I'm Clara Whitfield, 35, from Seacliff Bay, California. I ran a small makerspace, North Coast Invention Lab, my baby. With teens, we built robots, tinkered with soldering irons, tried simple circuits, debated if scrap parts could make a flying model. The lab smelled of wood, metal, and kids' dreams. Every project, even the wonky ones, felt like progress. My husband was Aaron Blake, 38, a technician at Red Cedar Wind and Power, servicing coastal wind turbines. Strong hands, scarred fingers, the confidence of someone working at heights daily. We married quietly, believing actions mattered more than words. I thought we had a solid, honest, drama-free bond. Life was routine. He'd leave for shifts, I'd work with the kids. Evenings, we'd bicker in the kitchen, silly stuff, like storing batteries near utensils or setting a soldering iron by a water mug. Those arguments felt warm, like adult life, accepting each other's flaws. Everything changed on Friday, April 12, 2024. Aaron suggested a trip to Mariner's Notch, a rocky cliff nearby. The wind clears your head, he said. The ocean road was familiar, grey waves, coppery arbutus trees, cliffs. He played an old playlist, whistling. I relaxed. We climbed to the outlook. The sea roared below. I stood at the edge, arms out, catching the breeze. Aaron came behind, wrapped his arms around my waist. I trusted him. Then a push, not soft, not accidental, but deliberate. The ground vanished. The horizon flipped. I fell. The ocean's cold hit like a stone weight. My clothes soaked, dragging me down. I choked, fought, remembered racing my dad to hold my breath underwater as a kid. That was a game. This was death. My chest burned, lungs screamed. I swallowed salt water, thinking it was over. But someone pulled me out. Strong hands grabbed me, yanked me up. I gasped air. Then darkness. I woke in a small cabin, low ceiling, smell of firewood and coffee. A dog lay by my feet. A voice said, "Easy, you're safe." That's how I met John Pike, about 50, a former Oakland detective turned trail keeper and volunteer firefighter. Pray, calm eyes. His dog, Scout, was smart, silent, understanding without words. John didn't pry. He gave me time to recover. 3 days later, he said what I dreaded. It wasn't an accident. There were marks on the ledge. Someone pushed you. I knew Baron. My husband. His hands, his push. It clicked. John showed me a Harbour Chronicle article, "Woman dies at Mariner's Notch." My name. Below it read, "Husband identified, body by bracelet and jacket." I crushed the paper in my hands. I was officially dead. But I was alive. I recalled Bowers and Eldon, a law firm. I'd seen Lydia Hart there, a young, polished legal assistant, stud earrings, quick smile. Once she offered to handle my paperwork, to skip a line. It seemed trivial then. Now it felt ominous. Another memory, a letter from Santa Barbara a year ago. My distant aunt died, leaving me a small house and savings. I needed to handle the paperwork, but my mom got sick. I was stretched between the lab and hospital, so I shelved it, thinking, "Mom's more important, papers can wait." I was wrong. Papers wait, but they could fall into the wrong hands. John showed evidence, Aaron's payment to Bowers and Elgin for an inheritance consultation. Parking lot photos of Aaron and Lydia meeting at a wine bar. A recorded call, Lydia's voice, "We'll make it clean." Aaron's, "No one will know." It was clear. Aaron, my husband, learned about the inheritance. Lydia, the lawyer, had access to the documents. Together they planned to eliminate me. Aaron pushed me off the cliff for the inheritance. Then he identified a stranger's body as mine. I was buried on paper. But I was alive. That night, in John's cabin, I stroked Scout's fur, staring out the window. My life was mine again. They thought I was gone. But I was here with a chance. For the first time in ages, I felt not fear, but strength. Like nature itself said, your turn now. The newspaper with my death headline sat on the table, woman dies at Mariner's Notch. My name below. Caption, husband identified body by bracelet and jacket. I gripped the paper until my fingers paled. The world had buried me on paper. But I was alive. Scout slept at my feet, his steady, warm breathing the only thing tethering reality. John set a coffee mug down and said calmly, like choosing a hiking route, you have two paths. I looked up. First, disappear for good, new name, new life. Second, prove you're alive and expose them. I stayed silent. Words wouldn't come. But inside, I screamed. Disappear? Let them win, take my name, my life, my world. I won't disappear, I said finally, voice quiet but firm. I want the truth out. John nodded. Fine, but walking into the police saying I'm alive won't cut it. They've got a tidy accident story, easier to stick with than admit your husband and his mistress tried to kill you. He spoke simply, like a teacher explaining a problem. So, I clarified, we need them to admit the truth themselves, yes, or say something undeniable, and it needs to be recorded. He pulled a small dictaphone and two tiny cameras from a cabinet. Volunteers use these for trial tests, clear audio, hidden, unnoticed. I held the scratched but working dictaphone. For the first time in days, I felt not just fear but a tool in my hands. We trained for days. John coached me on conversation. Don't justify, he said. Speak short, explaining too much shows nerves. We practiced in the cabin. He asked questions, I answered. He played recordings, pointing out, hear that, you said because, it signals weakness, sound like the facts back you, no explanation. It seemed trivial at first. Then I got it, these details controlled the situation. Scott lay nearby, resting his head on my shoe. His calm breathing taught me it don't rush. Breathe steady. Days later, John showed me a draft message for Erin. I know about the Santa Barbara inheritance. I know the body isn't hers. Want this quiet. Meet at Mariner's Notch. Bring her. I reread it. Cold, dry, just facts. Will he buy it? I asked. People like him usually do, John said. They think they can deal. We send it. I barely slept. The forest outside rustled, groaned, sensing something big. Warning came. John's burner phone buzzed. One message will be there, 11-0. My stomach tightened. They're coming, I said. Yes, John nodded. Both, even better. We prepped for days. John mapped the cliff, marked wind interference spots, camera placements. He explained clearly. Here, the ledge is solid, he pointed. If you need to step back, stand here, it won't give. I learned not just words but movements where to place my feet, how to hold my hands to hide trembling. Sometimes I felt like a schoolgirl with a strict mentor. But the stakes were higher. The night before, we sat by the stove. I patted Scout, his fur warming my hands. You sure I can do this? I asked quietly. Not sure, John said honestly. But I see your core, you hold your ground, that might be enough. His no-nonsense tone built trust. I looked out the window. The forest stirred, wind chasing shadows. Tomorrow, on that cliff, my fate would be decided. For the first time, I thought, maybe I'm ready. The morning of the meeting was tense. Ocean salt stung the air, the sky low and heavy over the cliffs. I stood on Mariner's Notch, where I was meant to die days ago. Today, I was no victim, I wanted the truth spoken aloud. A microphone taped under my jacket recorded every word. John Pike, ex-detective and trail keeper, monitored from the upper path, hearing everything. They arrived on time. A black SUV parked. Aaron strode first, confident, like he'd called the meeting. Lydia trailed half a step behind her, composed, cold, emotionless. She looked ready for a business deal, not to cover up a murder. They approached. Wind muddled speech, but I had one rehearsed line ready. Why kill me? A brief pause. Erin smirked, answering casually, like discussing a work schedule. We planned it all year fall. The identification, the paperwork, no one questioned it. You were supposed to vanish, but since you're back, you'll disappear for good. His voice stayed level. Lydia lifted her chin, staring straight. I asked the second question to pin the motive. For what? Lydia replied, all business, not just your aunt's house, her land in Santa Barbara, the luxury villas project. They planned around her lot when she refused to sell. Now, with construction nearly done, your land's the key. It completes the oceanfront, boosts the area's status. That plot's worth $100 million now. Clara, people vanish for that kind of money. She's not worth that, Erin added. Without you, it's easier. I repeated for the recording, $100 million. Lady glanced past me, gauging distance, then acted. She pulled a thin leather strap from her sleeve. Figurot. Simple, cheap, silent. One move to end it. Erin lunged, grabbing my wrist hard, right at the pulse. I recalled John's training. I twisted my wrist down, broke free, and stepped to a narrow rock ledge where the cliff was solid. The strap grazed my collar, missing. Back off, I said firmly. Erin stepped again, but slipped on wet stone, nearly losing balance. His grip faltered. Lydia didn't stop. She drew a small syringe with a short needle, a clear drop gleaming at the tip. One jab to silence me fast, no trace. I knew survive. She aimed for my shoulder. Then the air shifted. The wind's howl turned to a dull roar, like a massive engine. A patrol helicopter rounded the cliff, its approach masked until now, hovering right above. It flew low over the ledge. The gust kicked up dust and pebbles. Lydia stumbled, the syringe slipping from her hand, clattering on rock. Erin staggered, shielding his face, stepping back. Their plan collapsed in seconds, undone by the chopper's pass. Move, Lydia shouted, panic in her voice. Erin hesitated, grasping for control, then bolted for the SUV. Lydia yanked his arm, and they sped off, tires spitting gravel, exhaust lingering. When their SUV vanished, John joined me. I was still catching my breath. He spoke first. I called the police. They're on the way. If we give statements fast, they might catch Erin on the road. His words steadied me. We moved from the ledge to safer ground. 20 minutes later, patrol arrived. Officers surveyed the scene, took my statement, collected the syringes evidence. I recounted their confession about the $100 million. They listened, noting every detail. We drove home to copy the recording and plan next steps. The cabin welcomed us with stove warmth and coffee scent. Scout lifted his head, glanced at me, and settled by the door. John pulled the dictaphone, extracted the memory card, and made 2 copies, working methodically, checking files, labeling envelopes, noting times. The phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message, you don't know who you're dealing with, will find you. I read it, feeling no icy fear, only anger and resolve. John glanced at the screen and nodded. They'll go quiet now, but we've got enough to start a case. This heads to court, and it won't be quick. I nodded. His words were simple, grounded in process, not heroics, just steps, recording, copies, logging threats, police. I stepped onto the porch. Ocean wind carried salt. A helicopter droned distantly on its own route, unaware of us. But I knew its low pass had wrecked their plan. I breathed and told myself, my turn now. I left the cabin 2 days after the attack. After police collected evidence and filed reports, staying wasn't safe. John offered his place, but I needed my own space, not as a witness of someone else's story, just me. I rented an apartment near the police station. Ordinary neighborhood, low buildings, shops downstairs, coffee and pizza smells at night. My window faced a quiet alley, occasionally lit by patrol cars. White walls, simple furniture. No memories, no shadows. It was enough for now. Nights were sleepless. Every sound felt like a threat, every step in the hall a warning. I double-locked the door, wedged a chair under the handle, kept the hallway light on. Police said Erin and Lydia were hiding. A case was open, but they weren't found. That knowledge gave hope and kept me on edge. Days I kept busy. Waiting for news was unbearable, so I did what I knew best: research. If my aunt's land was worth 100 million, I needed to know why. I started simple. At the city library, I accessed property records, old archives, maps, cadastral plans. My aunt's name appeared in ownership lists, followed by layers of details: building permits, environmental reports, luxury villas, project files. The picture formed. Her land wasn't just a plot, it blocked water access. Without it, the villa complex ended in a concrete dead end, followed by her wild, overgrown strip. Adding her land would unify the project, creating a seamless oceanfront. That whole view jacked the value to 100 million. Reading, my anger turned cold. Aaron knew. Lydia knew. All they needed was me gone. I spent days in the archives, returning late to my rented place, spreading papers on the floor. I sketched the complex, marked bought and unsold plots, found names of investing companies, big funds that saw my aunt as a budget line. Police updated me. The investigator called. No trace yet, but we have leads. Later, they are in state, we confirmed. I knew they'd surface eventually. One evening, a knock startled me. It was my neighbour, an older woman with a cat, bringing a pie. "You're new, nice to meet you," she said. "Here's my number, call if you need anything." I thanked her. The simple gesture stung my ice. A week later, police had news: Aaron was spotted in another city. I sat in my white room, listening to the call. Time tried. I dug through papers to stay sane. Sometimes, the apartment walls felt like they were closing in, trapping me again. One evening, as I sat with tea by the window, the phone rang. A confident voice: "We found him. Your husband's in custody. Court sets bail tomorrow." I was silent, words sinking in. Then a quiet, clear inner voice: "It's over." I stepped onto the balcony. The city breathed steadily: streetlights, passing cars, laughter from an open window. The world lived on, and for the first time in ages, I felt I could too. I closed my eyes and said aloud, "It's over, I'm free." My husband would be in jail. He'd never push me toward a cliff again. Part 5 Translation American English. The courthouse greeted me with cold stone walls and the smell of old paper. Metal detector at the entrance, a weary guard, and corridors where steps echoed loudly. For the first time, I wasn't a guest or bystander, I was a witness. The courtroom was silent. Aaron and Lydia sat on the defendant's bench, 2 guards behind them. Handcuffs were removed for the hearing, but the guards stayed close. Their lawyers sat separately at the defense table. Aaron looked rattled, trying to seem confident. His eyes darted to the judge, the prosecutor, me. Lydia sat still, chin slightly raised, hands folded, her face icy, like this was someone else's story. The judge entered. All stood. The prosecutor spoke first, calm and confident. Motive: Santa Barbara land, its value, the attempt to eliminate the heir, staging an accident. Evidence: my microphone recording, the syringe, the garrote, police reports. I was called as a witness. My heart pounded as I approached the stand. I swore to tell the truth and began with the core. "First, Aaron pushed me off the cliff into the ocean," I said. "He was sure I'd crash on the rocks, drown, or be swept away by the current for the sharks. Even if I survived, he planned for me to disappear." I took a breath and added, "He had another woman's body ready to pass off as mine, so no one would search for the truth. That was part of his plan." The room grew quieter. Some people straightened, hanging on every word. I continued. "When I survived, they moved to the next step. Aaron grabbed my wrist, and Lydia tried to slip a leather strap around my neck. And finally, I said, raising my eyes, Lydia pulled out a syringe with clear liquid to knock me out for good. I paused. Only a patrol helicopter stopped them. It flew too low, kicked up dust, threw them off. That saved my life. I spoke calmly, though I trembled inside. Every word went into the record, more important than my emotions. The prosecutor nodded, asking no further questions. The sequence was clear. Police testified next, detailing the syringe, the report, the large phone threats. The dry accounts made the evidence undeniable. Aaron asked to speak. His voice shook. "It's a lie. She set it up. I'm her husband. I was protecting her from those investors, and now I'm blamed." The judge cut him off, noting every word would be recorded. A guard's hand on his shoulder silenced him. Lydia stayed quiet, a faint smirk flickering once before she looked down. The trial lasted hours. They discussed the luxury villas project, raised documents, maps. I heard the investor's name spoken aloud in court for the first time, now official. The judge left to deliberate. Minutes dragged. Guards stood tense behind Aaron and Lydia. When the judge returned, all stood. His voice was steady. "The court finds Aaron K. and Lydia E. guilty of attempted murder, sentenced to imprisonment in a maximum security facility, taken into custody immediately." A murmur filled the room. Aaron jumped up, but guards pinned him to the bench. He shouted something incoherent, drowned by the noise. Lydia rose silently, stepping toward the guards. The clerk read the verdict details, but I tuned out. The judge's words closed a chapter of my life. After the hearing, I walked into the corridor. It was empty, quiet, only my steps echoing on stone tiles. I stopped at a window, breathed cool air, and felt lightness for the first time in ages. I said aloud, "It's over, it's done." And those words were true. That's the end of today's story. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so share them in the comments below. I truly enjoy reading what you have to say. If you'd like more, check out the full playlist linked in the description of this video. New real stories are on the way, and I'd love to share them with you. Hopefully, I'll see you next time. If this journey resonated with you, please hit subscribe and tap the bell so you'll never miss the latest stories. Thank you for listening.